that's attached to me. Gervonta Tank Davis. That's the only thing this kid Ryan Garcia is the only thing that's the only thing that he knows is Tank. That's the only
Ben stays sucking off Floyd, no doubt about that.
name that he knows is Tank, right? So he said, "Oh, I want to fight Tank. I don't care. It's the biggest fight." Okay, you want to fight Tank? You know, in boxing we make sacrifices. So we know Tank fight at 135. So if you want to fight Tank at 135, we can make it happen before the end of the year.
Damn, your man Tank, Tuck Davis, he's scary. He going out all the way sad. No wonder we ain't heard ish from your man Gervonta. Yeah, he had to wheel out his sugar daddy Floyd. He going out all the way sad, 100%.
Well, I know he was talking about, they're talking about moving up to 140.
Absolutely not.
Shook.
You just fought at 135. So why can't you fight at 135 again?
I guess. Go ahead.
He's young. I can see if he was a lot older. He's not in his 30s. When you get older, you know, guys get older and the weight settle in, and then you be like, okay, I can't make the weight no more. But he's young. We have to make sacrifices. If it's certain things that you want in the sport of boxing, like Ryan Garcia really wants this fight with Tank. So if you really want this fight with Tank, sacrifice. We have to make sacrifices. Even though I know I wasn't a 154 pounder. I knew that. I wasn't a junior middleweight. But I knew there's certain things, sacrifices I have to make. Oscar De La Hoya chose the gloves, chose the judges. He chose everything. The weight class, he chose everything. I knew I was the better fighter. I felt I was the better fighter. And I showed y'all I was the better fighter. So,
Floyd, you got your ass whipped. De La Hoya whipped your ass into retirement. You scary having ass dude. Floyd Mayweather only retired once in the middle of his career. And it was immediately after Oscar De La Hoya, who had a rematch clause, whooped your ass. And you ran off, retired to evade Oscar De La Hoya's rematch clause. Because he was on your ass. And your own pop said, type it on YouTube. Floyd Mayweather Sr. said, on the point system, De La Hoya was up and... Listen, his ass... Your ass was his. Simple as that. Oops. Yeah, you didn't win shit. You got mollywopped. De La Hoya didn't show you no respect. He was all over you like a rash. And you went out all the way sad like your little protege. Your little sugar baby. Tank. 100%.
So guess what I did? I made sacrifices. So if you feel like you can beat Tank, you the better fighter, then guess what? Make sacrifices. You just fought at 135. Well, we gonna fight what, 90? We gonna fight what, 90 days? We'll fight 90 days if you want to. Whatever you want to do. Ain't gonna get smoked.
Anyway, people, you heard there from Gervonta Tuck Davis's sugar daddy, Floyd. Now, a few times you heard him mention that, oh man, we gonna fight Ryan at 135 because he don't fight there. Why can't he stay there? Listen. Ryan Garcia's last 2 fights have been at 140. So stop the cap, Floyd. And that's the problem, you see. A lot of these dudes don't do their research. Ben from Fight Hype, who's supposed to be all in the video with boxing, sat there and listened. I think even Ben said, why is Ryan moving the goalposts? Why is he moving up to 140 when he's already fought at 135 just now? In fact, let me replay it just in case some of you man missed it.
I knew I was the better fighter. I felt well, we gonna fight what, 90? We gonna fight what? Ain't gonna get smoked.
Wow.
90 days if you want to. Whatever you want to do.
Well, it's not whatever he wants to do, is it? Because you just said not 140. You scary ass dude.
You just fought at 135. So why can't you fight at 135 again?
I guess. Go ahead.
And you hear Ben there again. I guess. No, not you guess. You don't guess anything. Because he didn't fight at 135, you clown having ass dudes. Yeah? Floyd think he's so smart. Oh man, you know, I'm a businessman and I know the business. You don't know shit. You don't even know what Ryan Garcia been fighting at. To get your facts straight. Ryan Garcia is now a 140 fighter. He been a 140 fighter. And for whatever reason, last year when Ryan Garcia was a 135 fighter, it didn't happen. And I hate to break it to you. Do we know who made the fight not happen? All we know is, fair enough, yeah, let's say Tank Davis had carried on and fought Lomachenko or Devin Haney. I would then say, well, listen, people, we're not sure who caused negotiations to fail last year when Ryan Garcia was 135, but we know Tank stepped up to fight top competition. So I can't sit here and tell you that he ducked Ryan when he just fought Devin Haney or Lomachenko. But guess what? We can't say that. All we can say is we don't know who caused negotiations to fail. It could have been Tank. It could have been Ryan. We don't know. And what we do know, the other thing we do know is Gervonta Davis in the last year has done nothing but fight bums and fight gym fighters. Rolly Romero is a Las Vegas Floyd Mayweather gym fighter. He is not on any level elite. I hate to even mention the word elite with bummy Bumero in the sentence. He's a bum, no technique and no chin have an ass. That's what man's Tank been doing. Yeah? So stop the cap. Ryan Garcia is a 140 fighter, and that's where the fight needs to happen. And in fact, I'm sure, wait a minute, I'm sure, don't get me wrong here, is it not the case that Tank Davis himself has fought at 140? Oops, I'm telling you now, if we see here that Tank Davis has fought at 140, I ain't trying to hear nothing. This is a categorical duck. Oops. 2021, 140 against Mario Barrios. Oops. So as you saw by the title, and as you saw in my DP, it said, Gervonta Davis' sugar daddy has told people he don't want nothing to do with Ryan Garcia. He's too big and he's too strong. There's the evidence. Ryan Garcia has been fighting at 140. Tank Davis had no problem fighting Mario Barrios at 140, who, by the way, is a much smaller fight. So wait there, why is it Tank can fight a bum at 140, but he can't, or is too scary to fight Ryan Garcia, the pretty-looking TikTokagram champion of the world, at 140? That's what you call a duck. That's what you call scary. How is it not? It's one thing if Gervonta Davis has never fought at 140 before, but he had no problem going up there, and in fact, I remember at the time, they made a big song and a dance out of it. Oh, he's stepping up loads of weights. He's fighting for some sort of bum belt. That's what they were saying. Drumming it all up. So why don't you do that for 140 with Ryan Garcia in a fight the fans actually want? And it tells you all you need to know about Floyd and Tank. Number one, where's Tank gone? Why is it Tank, the man who said last month, oh man, it's time for me to spread my wings and I need to make my own decisions. So far, Tank's been silent and he's continued to wheel out his sugar daddy, Floyd, to do his speaking for him. When the man said he wants to take his career into his own hands. Why is Tank Davis not out here now saying, Floyd, you're old, sit down somewhere, let me handle this Ryan Garcia work at 140? That's what we should be hearing right now. Bottom line. We've heard about how sweet Ryan Garcia is. We've heard about how the Baltimore Slayer, the Baltimore Bum Slayer. We've heard about how hard he is from Baltimore. We've heard about how busy Tank likes to get in Baltimore. But we ain't hear nothing now. And I'm sorry, but Ryan Garcia right now, he out here. He want to fight. And if Ryan Garcia is that sweet, I don't want to hear about 140. Fair enough, if it was 147, I'd say, you know what? That's just way too wild. But the fact that Tank's been there against a bum, it's a duck. I'm sorry, it's a duck. Ryan Garcia has established himself at 140 now. He's a 140 fighter. For Ryan Garcia to go back to 135, in fact, I'm pretty sure since he's come back, he hasn't fought at 135. He took time off, came back to the sport, and he's been 140 since. The fight's at 140. And if it doesn't happen at 140, it'll be because Tank Davis has ducked. And this really is an indictment of the state of Tank Davis's career. Honestly, it's embarrassing. And all we hear about Floyd saying is, oh man, you know, people gotta make adjustments. People gotta make whatever that word is he was saying. Basically, Ryan Garcia needs to allow the A side to call the shots. Listen, Tank, you ain't no De La Hoya, I'm afraid to say. You're doing 200,000 pay-per-view buys. De La Hoya was doing multi-millions. About De La Hoya. De La Hoya's the A side. Not being funny, but in terms of clout, in terms of whatever else you want to look at, Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis are very similar levels. Is Tank the small one? I can't even say that. Is Tank the small A side? Floyd mentioned about, oh, well, Tank's got a belt, and Tank ain't got no belt. Tank ain't got no belt. He had a belt at 130 10 years ago and lost it and never beat no one at the time. I remember at the time, actually, he was ducking Tevin Farmer. Another great fight we didn't get. Tevin Farmer went on to lose to much lesser people than Tank, but people who were prepared to run it. This really, I'm sorry, yeah, when you take a step back and you actually look at Tank's career, everywhere you look, there's been big fights which Tank could have had. Tank probably would have won. Haven't happened. Tevin Farmer, number one. Lomachenko, the man who Teofimo went on to beat. All these different examples of people, yeah, who was buzzing at the time, and Tank shit himself and fought bums instead. Tevin Farmer was perfect. Loads of hype at the time for it. Tank shit himself. Lomachenko, loads of hype at the time. Tank shit himself. Teofimo had to handle that work for him. And now you got Ryan Garcia, loads of hype at the time, and Tank, he's shitting himself. I'm sorry, people. Ryan Garcia, he doing the right things. He's saying the right things right now. And I believe, if Tank is the A-side, yeah, if Tank's as good as you say he is, what's the problem? I believe this fight makes sense at 140. It's more competitive. And Floyd knows that. This shows you how scary they are. The fact that Floyd's refusing to fight at 140 says he doesn't want to give up an advantage. But I'm sorry, if you're the A-side, if you're that good, if you're the champion, it shouldn't be a problem. You should say, fine, Ryan Garcia, he's not as good as me, I'll give him the weight. And I believe that makes the fight more even. I'm not trying to see a blowout. I've seen Tank blow out a bunch of bums. I'm not trying to watch that. I believe Ryan Garcia deserves as much advantages as he can, as possible, as naturally possible. And the fact that Tank had no problem fighting this dude here at 140, I ain't trying to hear nothing about how he needs to stay at 135. If you wanted to be a 135 fighter, you should have stayed there. You've dug your own grave out on this one. Because you was all in the video jumping up, talking about 140 this, 140 that. Well, guess what? Let's run it at 140 then. The same way you've been doing. Against bums. Yeah, I'm sick of people making rules for bums. For example, we know against bums, contracts and fights get done expeditiously. A fight can be signed in 10 minutes flat against a bum. A real fight takes 6 months, if ever. Falls through 5 times. Yeah, I'm sick of people saying I'm happy to fight a bum at a higher weight, but a real fight, oh, you know, actually, don't want it there. Sick to death. All these little weird things. I'm telling you now, if this fight don't happen because of this, and I believe Ryan Garcia needs to stick by his guns. I don't want to. I told you days ago, before I even knew this would be a problem, I said I don't want to watch this fight at 135. I don't need to see Tank Davis versus a weight-drained Ryan Garcia. I'm not trying to watch that. We've seen, as I mentioned a second ago, we know how fights go when Tank fights people who are underweight and whatever else. That's his favourite thing to do. He loves to fight people where he has a blatant advantage. Or what's that? You're weight drained. Or what's that? 3 weeks training. Or what's that? You're old and shot to bits. Or what's that? You're a Las Vegas gym fighter with no technique and no chin. We know Tank thrives in them kind of environments. I'm trying to watch Tank go in there in an even playing field. And that's where you earn full credit. He won't get no credit from me if he beats Ryan Garcia at 135. That said, Tank Davis beating Ryan Garcia at 140 is a proper top flight win. In fact, that would be Tank Davis's first real win. I don't count all these people talk about being 21-0 or whatever else. I don't count them. Your first win in my book is when you beat someone decent. Bottom line. So for example, Teofimo Lopez's first win was against Lomachenko. Devin Haney's first win was against George Kambosos. Tank Davis don't have any wins. Ryan Garcia don't have any wins. This is their first decent fight. And it's really sad that, honestly, I thought if anyone was going to be acting weird, it was going to be Ryan Garcia. But this really does, it confirms all the evidence, as I mentioned. I'm sorry, the common denominator here is always Tank. Every time. Tevin Farmer, Loma, Devin Haney. All these people who... Listen, what we know is Lomachenko had no problem fighting Teofimo Lopez. Tevin Farmer had no problem fighting all the people he fought. He fought top competition and lost. Devin Haney, he fought top competition, no problem. The only person who don't do that and who always ends up not in a decent fight is Tank Davis. Oops. I don't know, anyone from Baltimore needs to tell your man to sort his game out and find his own balls. Oh man, I need to be my own man, and what happened to that? Seriously, what happened to you being your own man? Because right now, Floyd, he doing the talking for you again. Super duper sad.